Hello and welcome to the first Republican debate. This debate will be between Caspia and Donnelly. The questions I will be asking has not been shared with anyone. I will try to keep this debate fair and balanced as possible. With that said, help me introduce Vice President Joe Donnelly and Governor Asher Caspia. Is Caspia in the call? No, Caspia. Caspia is he went on.
You can hear
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We are having technical difficulties with the Skype call. So when we get it all under control, I will redo everything and we'll get the debate started. Thank you. Hello and welcome to the first Republican debate. This debate will be between Caspia and Donnelly. The questions I will be asking this morning has not been shared with anyone. I will try to keep this debate fair and balanced as possible. With that being said, help me introduce Vice President Joe Donnelly and Governor Asher Caspia.
Hey.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, both candidates, for coming. Before we get into it, I want to go over a few things. You get 2 minutes to answer a question I give you. If you wish to rebuttal, I will give you 30 seconds to a minute. Try to keep track of your time, but I will let you know when your time is up. Do we understand those rules?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Okay. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
All right. That is the
I'm ready.
spirit. All right, let's go. Let's get into it. The first topic I'll be asking about is policy, specifically tax policy. Donnelly, you have the floor. You have a chance to tell the American people your tax policy. Remember, you only have 2 minutes.
All right. So my first major position in AGS was in the House of Representatives. And in the House of Representatives, I proposed 13 bills, which was the most of the fourth or fifth House. And in that time, one of the bills I was most proud to propose was the budget for 2020. That budget had the lowest taxes of its time. It was the most conservative budget of its time, 5.3% flat tax. Now I've noticed Caspia's tax plan, and it's that people who make under $36,000 don't have to pay any taxes, but then people who make from $36,000 to I think around $100,000, then they have to pay a 14% tax, and that's not conservative economics. That's hampering the middle class. When you're taxing someone who makes $36,000, 14%, that's about like $6,000 gone from their income. That's $6,000 they could have used to feed their families and to participate in the economy. And also, when you have these brackets, it's de-incentivizing, because if you make $35,000, then you don't have to pay any taxes. But if you make $36,000, then you'll have to pay $6,000 in taxes. So you're just not gonna want to make more money, because then you'll lose money.
Okay, Donnelly, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. As for Caspia, I know that he kind of attacked. Oh, did he really disconnect again? Right when he needed to talk. Donnelly, I understand that you attacked him pretty good in your opening statement. Not your opening statement, but your tax policy statement. Because of that, I will give him the 2 minutes, and I'll add a minute or 30 seconds to his time to rebuttal. Or is that fine?
That's all cool. Yeah.
All right.
Really.
That's if he gets back in the call.
Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Caspia is indeed back. Yay. I'm going to give him 2 minutes to tell his tax policy, say what he's going to do for the American people. Remember, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead. Go ahead, Caspia.
I think this is an accurate representation of what he's going to do for the American people.
Caspia,
Oh fuck.
can you hear me?
I think he's out.
Oh, God, Lord. Another one. Sorry, folks, for this debate. Please excuse the errors and technical difficulties. Caspia keeps on dropping from the call. It's not necessarily his fault. It may be his internet or something else. In meantime, we're going to wait it out.
Okay, well, now that I'm back, I would like to thank Governor Powers and Vice President Donnelly for being in this debate with me and the American people for listening in. I also want to thank Mr. Donnelly for giving a brief overview of my tax plan, but it appears that you're not quite fully informed on all the aspects of what my plan entails. Yes, people making under $36,000 per year will pay nothing, but there is a 1 year or to 2 year phase-in period for people moving between brackets. So if you make $35,000 per year, the 1 year, and then the next year you make $36,000, you're not going to automatically pay that 14%. It would be half the percentage of the eventual rate you would pay. So that interim year you'd pay 7% as you move from the first bracket to the second, and then the following year, if you remain in that next bracket, it would be 14%. For the second bracket, it's people making $36,000 to $150,000 per year, and they pay 14%. And then if you were to move to the third bracket, you would also have a 1 year phase-in period from 14 to 19%. And the income tax was instituted back in 1913, and even dating back to the Civil War, to provide the government revenue, and it's the main source of revenue for the government besides exports, and it really is a necessary portion, even though the word tax is so demonized by the public. Taxes are important to have the government functions that we have today. So my tax plan is conservative. It lowers taxes, and it puts more money in the pockets of consumers so they can contribute to the economy. I also have a business tax plan. If you'd like me to go into that, I can go into it now, or I can wait for a future question.
That will be a future question, Caspia.
Alrighty, that's fine.
Can I respond to that, please?
Caspia, are you done with your statement?
I am done with my statement.
Okay, Caspia had 43 seconds left of his statement that he could have used, so Donnelly, I'll give you that 40 seconds. Go ahead.
All right, so you said that it wasn't, that it was conservative and that we need taxes because income tax is something necessary. But I've made a flat tax, which taxes the middle class less, especially because taxing the middle class 14% is absolutely absurd, and the government stayed functioning. It's simple. We don't need these income taxes when we have a significantly more fair 5% flat tax. And to answer and to respond to what you said about how the $35,000 interim year thing, you're still losing money if you pay a 7% tax 1 year. When you start making $36,000, you'd still make more money if you didn't pay any taxes. $35,000.
That's the alarm. Yeah. You have went over your time. Thank you for responding. We're gonna actually we have to move on, unfortunately.
Wait,
and
may I respond to that, please?
We are tight on time, but I will give you 30 seconds.
All right. Your flat tax for 5%. Our other opponent in the race, who couldn't join us today, Senator Nate Ribner, made the point that he's been in RTG and TPON for a long time, and he witnessed the government shutdown, basically, of TPON when the income tax was 4.5%, and your 5% is dangerously close to that. And can you really believe a government simulation shuts down with an income tax of 5%? So I personally believe a flat tax would not work in our society, and that's been demonstrated. If you look at Ted Cruz's flat tax plan from 2016. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Donnelly, would you like to respond? We're tight on time, but if you want to respond, I can let you respond.
All right, but the fact of the matter is, right now we have this 5.4% flat tax, and we have a surplus because we don't spend that much on our government. We've done a great job cutting unnecessary government waste, and that's why the government's not going to shut down, because we don't spend that much. We don't need high taxes.
Okay. Unfortunately, we do have to move on to another topic. Thank you, you two both for following the rules. The next topic is going to be about the violent riots that occurred last night. As a governor myself, I had to take care of these riots in New Hampshire, and it wasn't as much damage as New York or California, but we still had damage. We're going to start off with Caspia on this one. Why do you think the riots started, and how did you impact, how would you avoid it next time? and help the situation?
That's a very good question. As governor of Delaware, I also had to respond to the situation, and thankfully the riots did not get as bad in my state as, like you mentioned, New York, Pennsylvania, Florida, Louisiana. They're really struggling through this situation. I fully condemn any violent protest. It's not part of our history. It's not included in that right to protest to be violent. We need to learn lessons from people in our history like Martin Luther King and people who protested peacefully. I condemn all violence. It's not who we are. To answer the question, why do I think the riots occurred? It was a tough situation with it was a tough situation with the riots beginning, but I feel that in order to avoid violent protest, we need to encourage people to demonstrate peacefully and to my vocabulary is failing right now, but to demonstrate peacefully, and we just need to encourage that in people.
Okay, thank you so much. You had 50 seconds. You have 50 seconds to spare, so I will use that 50 seconds in the future for your rebuttals. As Donnelly, same question to you. Why do you think the riots happened? What'd you do to help? And what would you do in the future to avoid riots like these?
All right. Well, the riots happened. They were clearly started by Black Lives Matter, which is time and time again proven to be a violent group. And what I did to respond, because I was acting president at the time, which is I federalized the National Guard in the states affected. I think Georgia, or I'm not going to go through all that, New York, and then I imposed a curfew for about an hour later. I said, if you're not inside within an hour, then you will be arrested for disturbing the peace. And as you saw, the riots were quelled. I mean, obviously there were tragedy. Over 20 police officers died and more innocent civilians. But that's something that happens sometimes. And what we have to do is make sure we reduce the damage of these violent riots.
Is that your final word?
Yep.
Okay, Caspia, do you have any rebuttal to Mr. Donnelly?
It's not really a rebuttal to Mr. Donnelly, but I wanted to applaud his efforts as acting president last night. We all had to make some decisions, and we had to step up to the plate as leaders, as governors of these states. And I also want to offer my condolences to the families of the police officers that have been killed or been injured, and the civilians that have been killed or been injured. And I just want to tell Black Lives Matter and all the protest groups that violently demonstrate in this country that this type of violence will not be tolerated under my leadership as President Caspia, and I strongly denounce any actions of this going forward.
Thank you, Caspia. I'm going to go into the comments of this video, and if anybody has a question, I know a few people have questions in the comments. If you do have a question, please leave it, and I will definitely ask the two candidates. But for now, we're actually going to move on to renewable energy, and we're going to start off with Donnelly because Caspia answered the other question first. Donnelly, what is your plan for renewable energy? Do you think we can still sustain on coal, or do we need to go to alternative and like solar panels and wind and all that junk?
Well, all right. Well, this is one of my less popular answers because honestly, it's a proven fact that coal is not a renewable resource. I mean, it's not even up for debate. Well, we can run out of coal if we continue, and we will run out of coal if we continue to mine it like this. So there have to be limits on and regulations on coal, and I think those will encourage people to look for sources of renewable energy, whether it be wind energy, solar energy, or water energy. I don't know why. I really don't know the term right now. Hydro energy?
I think it's hydro. I'm not even sure myself.
Okay.
I don't pay attention. Donnelly, if you still have any more to say, please say it because Caspia just disabled again.
I think a key is that I'm not generally pro-regulation, but we do need to regulate some non-renewable resources because we'll run out of them.
Okay. Audience, again, because Caspia has timed out, if you have any questions for Donnelly, he will answer them right now, just from the comments section. Again, if you have any questions for Donnelly, leave them in the comments. He will definitely answer them. Isn't this just a fun debate?
Yeah.
People disconnecting and disconnecting. It's amazing. I love it.
He's a good kid. How do you
Shit. Huh?
How do you plan on distributing the wealth in our country? It's what Dave Muhammad said. I don't actually know who that is.
Dave, yeah,
All right.
I'm gonna say you can answer that question, but it's gonna come up in later, so you'll probably be repeating yourself.
All right.
So actually, just answer this question. It says, how do you respond to Caspia making personal and false attacks on you in the Sky campaign chat?
I actually did not know about those. That's a little concerning to me. I don't really know what personal attacks he made, and I'd love to hear about those. But that's a little scary to me, sad to me.
Okay, and do you think it's time to seize the means of production?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question.
I don't know how to answer that question either if I was asked that.
Sure.
So right now, guys, we're just waiting for Caspia. Hey, Caspia, you're back.
Sorry about that again. I live in the country. This is just a problem I have to deal with.
It's totally fine, dude. We're on renewable energy. Joe Donnelly gave his response. Would you like to respond?
I would absolutely love to respond.
Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to mention that I proposed a bill in the House of Representatives that passed overwhelmingly, almost unanimously, to have the federal government invest in renewable energy, namely a national solar panel program, where we would invest in building solar panels for our energy grid. But don't be mistaken. I still support our fossil fuel industry because the coal, oil, natural gas, all these forms of energy provide so many jobs in manufacturing and in processing. It's a very large segment of our economy. And we have very...
No. No.
No. Jaw. Caspia, come on.
All right. I guess I gotta respond to the stuff he said while he was talking.
Yeah.
All right. So he talked about his bill that we fund solar energy, but it's weird that he'd go make this bill that funds all the solar energy and then criticize me for having too low a tax plan and that the government will shut down. Because what I think we need to do is discourage coal, and then people will have to look for other sources of energy.
Caspia, you
I
back?
think I was talking to myself again.
Yeah, you were talking to yourself again.
I'll just... How did you hear about my bill, or did
Yeah,
how
we
far
heard
did I
about
get
your bill.
before?
We heard about your bill and then kind of cut out.
Yeah, again.
Are you there, Caspia? Caspia, make sure your mic's not muted. Here we go again.
All right, Dave Muhammad asked me what's one of the first things you would do as president.
Well,
Flags?
no. See, this ruins the whole thing. Okay, yeah, you can answer that, I guess. Caspia's back.
Processing techniques that would make coal, natural gas, and oil much cleaner and more efficient for the country, and I will pursue that as president.
Okay. Perfect. So you guys know I love drama. I just love it. We have a question, Caspia, that comes from our audience. Are you still here?
Fuck.
Oh no, Caspia, you still here?
All right, is your
I'm
mic
here.
on mute? All right.
Caspia, you here?
I'm here.
Okay, I'll just make sure. So somebody in the comments said, how do you respond to Caspia making personal and false attacks on Donnelly in the Sky campaign chat? Would you like to condone that, or?
What did you do? Because It's weird to me that you're in a Sky campaign chat in general, actually, because you said I can't beat Sky.
Wait, I'm sorry. What is the question? Is this question for me or for Donnelly?
This question is for you because they're saying in the comments. One person said in the comments, um, "How do you respond to Caspia making personal and false attacks on you in the Sky campaign chat?" So first, I want to ask you, what comments did you make?
Mostly one person, and I'm not going to name names, but I do know who it is. The person was trying to decide who to support for the general election, whether it be Gavin Sky, myself, or Mr. Donnelly. All I was doing was providing information on my record and my qualifications, and also some information regarding Mr. Donnelly, namely when Joe dropped out of the race originally, he said some things that I think really betrayed the trust of the American people, and personally, I do not like attacking people. I don't. It's not who I am. I want to stick to policy. I don't like drama. But this information, I feel, is imperative that the American public realize that Mr. Donnelly even openly admitted that he had put on a fake facade for the voters just to get votes and support. And he said some various things that really betrayed the trust of America. And I felt that I needed to let this person know that in case he wasn't aware of that.
Thank you, Caspia. And I'll give Donnelly 1 minute to respond. But audience, I don't want you to think that I'm going against Donnelly and I'm going against Caspia and going for Donnelly. I'm just trying to get all these questions, together, and I wanted to take one from the audience, so that was the one. So Donnelly, I'm gonna give you 1 minute to respond to Caspia's statement.
All right. So if all he said is that I lied about that I would definitely support the GOP nominee, then he has a point because it's true. I did lie about that. I'm sorry. I had to win at all cost attitude. I think everyone who's running for president is familiar with what I'm talking about. I've noticed that in every campaign, and it was wrong what I did. I'm truly sorry. I don't expect Caspia to support me if I win the nomination because of this. It would be unfair, and I'm sorry to the people I've betrayed with that lie. I thought I was going to win the nomination. I wanted their support for the general.
Thank you for your statement.
If I could just take 30 seconds.
I will give you his 22 seconds that he had left.
All right. Another thing, I am a man of my word, and I will support the GOP nominee, whoever it is, in the general election, because I feel that any Republican should be the best candidate for president. But another thing is, Donnelly, I asked him a question, are you really going to re-enter the GOP race, even if it means costing the unity of the GOP and costing the election? And he said, whatever it takes. And that's a quote, and I have evidence of that. So, to be honest, that's information that the American public should realize.
Okay, your time's over, and thank you, Caspia, for addressing that. It was really a blur, and I'm glad we got that covered. The next question I really want to ask... Oh, Donnelly?
All right. You keep talking about GOP unity, but the GOP unity doesn't matter if
we really have to move on. I'm gonna give you 25 seconds. We have to move on.
GOP unity doesn't matter if we don't have the right candidate in office. I'm not always going to vote for the Republican just because they're a Republican. We need someone who's actually going to help this sim. Simple as that.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm really surprised that you say that GOP unity doesn't matter. Are you saying that unity doesn't matter at all in the country, or we should not be, people of our word?
Don't have the right candidate. Like if the GOP appoints someone who I don't think is right for the job, then I'm not going to support them. GOP unity isn't just because I'm in the Republican Party and I need to support the Republican nominee. If it's a bad candidate, then GOP unity isn't the most important thing.
Gentlemen, we have to, at this point, we just have to respect our differences, your differences, because we do have to move on, or we'll never get to the topics. Okay. So the next question I really want to ask is jobs. Americans need jobs. What is your plan to create jobs, sustain jobs, for not just people now, but people in the future? I'm going to give this to Caspia, and then Donnelly, Remember, you guys have 1 minute to respond instead of 2 right now. Go ahead, Caspia.
All right. This may sound a little like Donald Trump from 2016, but to be honest, our jobs are fleeing overseas. Our job climate is very hostile to manufacturing jobs and other jobs in America. So my plan would lower the business and corporate tax rates to encourage companies to come back from overseas. And also I would invest in an infrastructure plan because our infrastructure is crumbling. Our bridges, our roads, they're all falling apart. Our airports, they're like third world airports. We need to invest in our infrastructure like what China and Russia is doing. They're investing money in infrastructure. The Hyperloop is a brilliant investment in transportation and public transit. And that would be a very wise thing to invest in because it pays for itself over 10 years in a national network of infrastructure and transportation.
Well, for my plan to increase jobs is to return money to the states, honestly. It's the state's job to invest in their own infrastructure. The federal government shouldn't do that for them. That's not in the Constitution. And also another thing is abolish the federal minimum wage. I think that's a key. Let the states decide what their minimum wage is. And we just don't need all this wasteful federal government spending. We should let the states decide what they want to do with their own money and let the states handle themselves.
Thank you, Donnelly. Gentlemen, I want to actually do like a fun kind of topic. Caspia, you want to respond?
I would like to just take a little bit to respond
Go
to
ahead.
that.
I will give you his leftover 22 seconds.
All right. In the Constitution, it does say that the federal government is required to provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and a united infrastructure system would be one way to provide for the general welfare. So rather than having states, trying to connect all the states, it's relatively difficult when speaking in terms of infrastructure. If we have one united plan, then it'll work better for the American people.
Dangerously broad interpretation of the Constitution. Provide for the general welfare could literally mean anything. Like, it's not a very seriously used clause in the Constitution. But there has to be something better than that one.
But it's definitely a good point to make.
Not really, honestly. It should really be states who are providing infrastructure. But you shouldn't use that clause as a crutch for government spending.
No, I'm not using it as an excuse for government spending.
Yes, you are. But we shouldn't be spending all this money on roads when the states can do that. It's their job. That's what's been going on in America for centuries.
Mr. Powers?
Yeah. Let me take control. Look. Again, if we didn't have all these interruptions, we would have had time to do all these responses. But we do not have a lot of time. So like I was saying, we're going to move on to a little kind of ease topic, and the question is, what would you do? What would be the first thing you'd do as president? We're going to start off with Donnelly, and then we'll go to Caspia.
All right. So first of all, yesterday, I don't know how many of you saw it. I'm trying to make sure everyone listening reads it, but I released the Donnelly Doctrine, which is 22 specific things in one just general promise that numbers 2, 17, 6, and 18, those might take a little longer. Everything else I will start getting done within my first 2 weeks. And so they're all specific promises. They're all right there. In terms of what my number one priority out of all of these are, I think it might be actually improving the newbie department. Where I'd make a secretary of newbies, which we already have, and then I'd make sure that I don't have a system where the secretary of newbies sends a newbie to me, and I add him to one of my executive agency's chats, so he has a job. So that might be the first thing. That might be my first priority. But another one is making an activity schedule the way Pandey, I don't know anything about her. I've heard she's not a great president, or he's not a good president, but I don't really know. But the way Pandey has done in TPON, where Pandey says if he'll be active, if when in the day he'll be inactive. So there's a system when the vice president's like, okay, so I have to be on at like from 6 to 7 because Pandey is going to be inactive, and I think that's really important. So those are my two real top priorities. But there are there's 18 things I'll get done, and I'll start getting done in my first 2 weeks in office that I've put in the Donnelly Doctrine.
Thank you, Donnelly. Caspia, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. From the first day, the first minute I enter office, I'm going to encourage the American people to develop a relationship. I want a relationship with each person in AGS, a personal one, where they can feel free to ask me a question at any time and I can respond and coach them. The first major initiative, I'm going to even build off of Donnelly's idea with the Department of Newbies. I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to start a mentoring initiative so that when a new person joins AGS, they will be assigned a veteran from AGS to train them, to coach them. We'll institute workshops to teach people how to write speeches and to tag the econ to be charged for the speeches and various other things to create a basic knowledge of how AGS works and for this new person so that they can feel comfortable and confident in moving forward in leadership positions. Because my goal is to train leaders. We are training tomorrow's leaders today. And that is my goal as president, and I will accomplish it.
Thank you, Caspia. We have a question from a person, Gregory, Senator Gregory.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on this. It was how would the candidates have handled the last night's scenario as president of the United States. You guys basically answered that. So would you guys like to actually put yourself in the position of president and then tell us what you would do, or do you guys want to go to another topic?
I was president, so.
Well, yeah, Donnelly was president for a time being. Caspia.
And then I had to do homework, and Greg did a great job. I'd like to shout him out. He really was great. He could be president.
I also agree.
Okay. We're gonna move to one of our last topics this morning. And that topic is budget and governors and activeness, I guess you can say. We have a big problem in AGS and a lot of Sims of inactivity and governors being inactive, and then they just hold their position, don't do anything, and then it ruins chances of newbies coming in and not being able to be a governor or any position in that matter. If this doesn't make any sense to you, then just let me know. But we're going to start off with Caspia. What would you do as president to help cut down on inactivity and replace governors that are inactive with new members that want to be governors?
First off, I want to applaud Kurt Hildebrand's actions as chairman of the Governors Association. When I joined AGS, there was only 9 active governors. And
What should I answer yours?
I think you disconnect.
He's talking to an empty camera right now.
What?
Definitely talking to an empty camera. Talking to himself right now.
Yeah, I just called him back. Guys, I'm so sorry for this. Caspia can't handle it. He lives in the middle of the... Caspia!
I'm back.
You nut
Sorry
you're
about
back.
that.
Alright, Caspia, finish your sentence. Or your statement.
How much did you hear?
You applauded Hildebrand, which
Yeah.
I'd agree with. He's been good.
Oh, wow, that's it. Okay, I got to go back to the beginning then. I'd like to applaud Kurt Hildebrand's actions as chairman of the National Governors Association. When I joined AGS, there was only 9 active governors. Now we have 50 governors in place, and it's come a long way in terms of activity. But as you mentioned, it still could be improved. And the way I'm going to improve that continually is through the Department of Newcomers and through the mentoring initiative is with Kurt Hildebrand's help, the Governors Association's help. We will sort out all the inactive governors and hold special elections for them and encourage newbies to run for these positions because it's a very valuable leadership role. It was my first role as governor of Georgia in AGS, And I gained a lot of leadership experience. I learned a lot about the sim in that position, and I will take that experience and translate it to helping others fulfill those positions as president.
Okay, amazing. So we're gonna move on. So we're gonna have last. I'm gonna ask you about one or two more questions, and we're gonna go to closing statements. Caspia, you said yesterday you will fight for the little guy. Give me an example of when you fought for the little guy, and I'm also gonna say that same with Donnelly, so that AGS members know who is really fighting for the little guy. Because I mean I think it's important. So go ahead, Caspia. You can answer the question.
Great question, Mr. Powers. It really is. I fight for the rights of people in this simulation because the people here, we have a really diverse group of people, and they're fantastic leaders. They're talented individuals. They have great ideas, and even though we all have our differences and we have different parties and we argue over issues, we all have a common goal of fighting for AGS and making this sim better. And I will continue to do that as president, and I ask that the American people trust me to get that goal accomplished, because whenever I set a goal for myself, I make sure it happens. Every single time, without fail, I make sure it is accomplished. So that is just what I want to communicate to the American public, is how much I want to fight for you. I will fight for you with helping train leaders and putting newcomers in positions of leadership, developing relationships with people, and installing reforms in AGS that will make the overall sim experience better for everyone.
Thank you, Donnelly. I mean, excuse me. Thank you, Caspia. Go ahead, Donnelly.
All right. Well, Caspia, he did ask for a specific example of one in AGS you fought for the little guy. Like, mine would be...
I said, excuse me. I did say example. I did not say specific. I accept cancer. Go ahead, Donnelly.
All right. Well, I can provide a specific example because I've actually helped the little guy. Or Zoko, who gets a lot of shit. All right. A lot of people, like, who's one of my dear friends, but I thought he'd gone a little far when he made his profile picture, or Zoko's face. So I made a post saying, chill out a bit. There's a line where it goes from funny to mean, and Wynn changed it back. So that's an example. And I'd love to hear if Caspia has any examples of one in AGS who's done that.
Shit. Am I live? Oh shit, I am. Yeah, definitely. Whatever he said, definitely.
No.
Oh damn, he disconnected. Fuck. Anyway, so Donnelly, that is a decent example. But he didn't look like a third grader. But I'm not gonna get into that. I'm a moderator. I'm not supposed to go like that. So let me add him back to the call. Audience, we're actually going to be the next question will be about the Governors Association and Governor Hilbrand's decision this morning about the Governors Association and all that jazz. So when is Caspia back?
I just got back.
Okay, you're back. Okay, candidates. This is gonna be one of the last questions, and we're gonna get to closing statements. You probably know I didn't cover all the topics that you guys probably wanted me to cover, but this is from Governor Hildebrand. He says, "I have an idea for National Governors Association. I want to start ranking states in certain stats in order to boost legislation activity. For example, listing states 1 to 50 in education, in turn making states pass more education bills to make their higher on the list. I will be so basically what he's saying is he's going to rank AGS states from 1 to 50 on education and all those important topics. So Caspia, I would like you to respond to that. Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea on his part?
I personally think that this is a fantastic idea. It's going to really contribute to realism in terms of governors, because in real life we have state rankings. Pennsylvania's ranked, 37th in manufacturing jobs, or for example, just an example figure. But I think that would be a great idea. It really would encourage a lot more legislation to come out of state legislatures. I've seen a few really good examples of bills that have been passed by states and governors that have really, stepped up to the plate. So overall, I guess that's just my simple answer of yes, I think that's a great idea. And as president, I would strongly encourage that.
All right.
Thank you, Caspia. Go ahead, Donnelly.
So yesterday we had our little spat over fresh ideas, and this is an example of a fresh idea. This is actually incredibly good. It's going to give state legislators and governors something to focus on, because now they'll look and they'll say, okay, we're number 45 in education. Should probably step that up a bit, make them compete, And I really actually think this is genius. I don't have that much to say about this, but this is I loved when I remember early on in AGS we'd have GDP and unemployment rate, and that was really nice. And now we don't do that. I wish we'd bring that back, but this is just like that. I don't know Hildebrand that well, but this is a great idea.
Thank you, candidates. As a governor myself, I believe this is a tremendously good idea because my legislator is not as active as I wanted to, and every time I propose a bill, people see the DM, but they will never vote. But anyway, we're going to go to closing statements. We're going to start off with Donnelly. Tell the American people why you want to be president and what you will do as president, and then after that I'll go to Caspia. You have 2 minutes.
All right. I want to be president because I really, really want to improve this sim. I want to make us more organized. That's why I have my newbie plan. That's why I have my schedule. And what I'll do as president, there's so much. First of all, read the Donnelly Doctrine. I released it yesterday. It's 23 specific promises that I will do in my term. I said Congress can impeach me if I don't do them. I meant it. There's so much. I want to make that activity schedule. I want to reduce the number of Supreme Court justices because I think the Supreme Court is currently inactive, and the ones who are active don't really do their jobs well, I don't think. And I want to add new creators. I want to expand the OMB, the DOJ, the CIA, FEMA, and the Department of Newbies. And I want to add to realism by not having things like purges, which we've had, or anarchy, or a rager. We've had all this crazy shit that I want to deal with. I'm gonna endorse smart candidates. I'm not gonna endorse anyone who's voted on very few bills or who hasn't proposed enough bills. And then I'll executive power sparingly. I have very on how the Constitution is designed to make sure that the president doesn't have too much power, and I think we need to go back to our roots in regards to that.
Thank you so much, Donnelly. Caspia, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Governor Powers and Mr. Donnelly, for coming today. And I just want to reiterate one major theme of my campaign. Since day one, I have been very active. Every single day, I have either posted a long, detailed speech or participated in actions within state legislatures or made decisions as governor or proposed bills as a House of Representatives. I have been very active. I have delivered over 175 speeches in 2 months. I have laid out my specific plans and proposals to make this sim better, to make this sim more real, and to make this sim a haven for training leaders. And I am committed, I am determined to succeed in this matter. I really want to see this great opportunity for people expand and grow and help to train our future leaders, because not only can this experience translate in the sim, but people can take experiences they get from AGS and translate it to their real life. It can give them more confidence to speak in the workplace. It can give them more confidence to go out and actually take on projects. And I think this is such a valuable experience for people our age, because we're going to have to start thinking about this in the real world, going out into the job market and participating in these leadership roles. And this is just something that I feel very passionate about since day one. And I feel that I can accomplish that as your president. And I ask for your support.
Make a doctrine.
Pardon?
Make a doctrine.
Okay.
Does work.
Okay. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you candidates for participating, and thank you audience for staying tuned. I'm Andrew Powers, and we are out. Holy shit, was that a show?
Yeah.
Thank you guys.